Did someone say paella? No one? Well, if no one did, we might as well talk about it. Paella is one of the most iconic dishes in Spanish cuisine, particularly in Valencia. What used to be a commoner's dish evolved into a popular delicacy and a favorite delight in international gastronomy. Paella is not only rich in flavor, but also a journey in history and culture, and that's what we're going to dive into today. Welcome to Foodie Legends, your go to source for the best foods to eat around the world and its history. Today, we are going to explore the story of how paella came into existence and some delicious ways of making this dish at home.
Yes, yes, yes!
The art of cultivating rice was popularized by the Moors in Muslim Spain, known back then as the Al-Andalus in the 10th century. Eating rice as a staple dish became common in the 15th century when locals from the eastern Iberian Peninsula began to cook their rice in casseroles together with fish and spices during family gatherings and religious occasions. A Spanish food historian, Lourdes March, once said, "Paella symbolizes the union and heritage of two important cultures, the Roman, which give us the utensils, and the Arab, which brought us the basic food of humanity for centuries, rice." Over the years, paella developed from a simple meal into a variety of intricate, luxurious, and tasty recipes that cater to people with different preferences. Paella surely survived the test of time and became a favorite Spanish classic. It is said that Paella Valenciana is the traditional and original way of cooking paella. Making paella is no easy feat because it requires patience, caution, and a special set of skills.
Are a very particular set of skills.
Paella Valenciana was born in Valencia, often cooked as a lunchtime meal for farmers and laborers. With the rise of living standards in Spain in the 19th century, the ingredients in Paella Valenciana became more luxurious, and more variety of meat were added, such as chicken, rabbit, duck, and snails. No paella is complete without a gentle dash of saffron, which is a key ingredient in this dish. To cook a perfect platter of Paella Valenciana, you need the following: olive oil, chicken meat sliced into smaller pieces, rabbit meat sliced the same size as your chicken meat, grated medium-sized tomatoes, green beans, butter beans, sweet Spanish paprika, a pinch of saffron, salt, and water.
Let's get started.
The first thing you need to do is to heat your paella pan on medium-high heat. Then add your olive oil. Make sure that the entire base of the pan is coated by the oil by swirling the pan. This will prevent the ingredients from sticking at the base. Add a little salt around the pan to prevent much splattering once you start cooking. Now saute the chicken and rabbit slices on the pan, stirring it until golden brown. Don't worry about the caramelized bits that stick in the pan. Those are meat fun, lending special flavor to your dish. Once the meat is browned, push it away from the center of the pan and saute the green beans and the garlic. Move it aside for the butter beans, minding not to smash or break it. Season the entire thing with paprika and saute it, followed by the tomatoes and the saffron. At this point, you can start mixing the components that you added earlier. You can start adding the water, but don't put everything at once. Start by adding the first half, enough for the rice that you will add later. Simmer the water for a couple of minutes to absorb the flavor of the stuff you sauteed earlier. You can add a bit more water if the broth begins to reduce. And finally, the rice. Add the rice in the pan, slightly stirring it to gently distribute the grains equally over the base. Simmer on high heat for approximately 10 minutes, then in low heat for another 8 to 10 minutes. Remember, do not stir. You'll know that your paella is doing nicely once you hear the faint crackling. which means the sokarat is beginning to build up. Amplify the heat for a final time, but be careful not to burn the paella. After 30 seconds or so, you can take it off the heat, covering the pan with a dishcloth for 5 minutes. Just wait a little more and there you have it. A good platter of Paella Valenciana, best garnished with lemon wedges for those who want it a little bit citrusy. Cooking is usually done outdoors during small backyard gatherings. If you want to impress your friends with your paella cooking skills, you might like to try Machika's Tabarca Paella Pan Set. Ideal for outdoor cooking, this Machika set includes a traditional carbon steel paella pan with reliable red handles, evenly distributing the heat which cooks your paella just nicely. It also comes with a 16-inch gas burner that fits 20-inch paella pans and smaller. This burner is reinforced with 30-inch support legs, so you don't have to squat or hurt your back while cooking. Paella de Marisco is arguably the paella as the world knows it, although food experts and Valencians themselves argue which paella is the original. However, one cannot deny that Paella de Marisco is a very delicious dish, one that deserves a spotlight. Paella de Marisco evolved as a fisherman's dish, originating in the Mediterranean shores of Valencia. Obviously, since seafood is more common in that region compared to game meat such as rabbit, Valencian fishermen chose to make their paella rich in the creatures of the sea. Occasionally, meat and sausages are added to Paella de Marisco such as Spanish chorizo. The earlier incarnations of this dish require local and cheaper ingredients such as eels and snails. But as Spanish cuisine encountered multiple cultures, Paella de Marisco underwent a series of evolution that converted it into the classic that we know today. Cooking Paella de Marisco is almost similar with Paella Valenciana, although there are some variations in the ingredients used for the former. To cook Paella de Marisco, you need to gather these ingredients: olive oil, finely chopped onions, tomatoes, finely chopped, red bell pepper, finely chopped, minced garlic cloves, dry white wine, bomba rice, seafood stock, a pinch of saffron, sea salt, green peas, mussels, clams, skinless and boneless fish such as monkfish or cod, chopped parsley, and lemon wedges. One of the most essential parts of Paella de Marisco is the seafood broth, made by boiling shrimp heads. This will impart your paella with a rich seafood flavor. However, if you don't have the time for it, you can simply choose to use Aneto seafood paella cooking base broth, made naturally by simmering shrimps, mussels, fish, and various herbs and spices that add multiple dimensions for your paella. Easy to store for future use, Aneto seafood base broth is rich in flavor and just as good as the real deal. It makes cooking Paella de Marisco easier for learning casual cooks. Now that you have your seafood broth ready, heat your oil in the paella pan on medium-high heat. Sauté the onions until soft, followed by tomatoes and red bell pepper. Wait for the red bell pepper to soften, then add the minced garlic to sauté for another minute. Finally, you can add the rice to be stirred with the sautéed spices, slightly toasting the rice until fragrant. Pour the wine in and let it boil. Then you can add the seafood stock, saffron, and the salt, letting the entire thing simmer in medium-low heat until half of the liquid has dissipated. Move the pan occasionally to evenly distribute the heat so the paella will cook on all sides. After some 15 minutes, add all the seafood except the shrimps, making sure that the shellfish and the fish slices are well distributed over the pan. Once the seafood is cooked and the rice is al dente, add the shrimps and the peas, cooking it for a couple of minutes. Once the paella is cooked, turn the heat to high for 30 seconds to achieve the sokarat. Then remove it off the heat to rest for 5 minutes. You can serve it with freshly chopped parsley on top and lemon wedges at the side. And that's your paella de marisco, a seafood take to the Spanish classic. Eating delicious dishes while trying to live healthy is not impossible. Paella is a very versatile dish. Chicken, rabbit, seafood, but it can also be delicious without this meat and be just as tasty. You might want to try this vegan and gluten-free paella. All you need are olive oil, vegetable broth, chopped onions, pinch of saffron, minced garlic, red bell pepper cut into strips, diced tomatoes, bomba rice, smoked and sweet paprika, sea salt, freshly cracked pepper, fresh thyme, green peas. In a medium saucepan, break up the saffron and add it to the vegetable broth, letting it simmer and just lower the heat to keep it warm. Then, heat the olive oil in your paella pan, sauteing the onions, red bell peppers, and the minced garlic. Follow it with the tomatoes, smoked and sweet paprika. Add the rice and stir it with the sauteed ingredients, lightly toasting it and integrating all of that nice flavors. Pour the broth that you simmered earlier. Make sure that every rice grain is well covered and just let it simmer without stirring. Once it is cooked, heat it fast to form the sokarat just like what we did in the previous recipes and take it off the pan to rest. Garnish it with the usual lemon and parsley, and there is your vegan paella ready to be served. You can amplify the flavors of your vegan paella using Carmencita's gluten-free paella Spanish seasoning. It has the special spices that make a special platter of paella, with just the right amount of kick, richness, and fragrance. Carmencita's paella seasoning is versatile and can be used both in meat-based or vegan paellas. Give this spice blend a try. Thanks again for tuning in with us here today at Foodie Legends for our latest episode. I hope you enjoyed some of the paella recipes that you can try at your home. Do you have your own take in making your own paella? Feel free to share it in the comment section. Also, be sure to like this video and click the subscribe button for more delicious content every week. You guys are awesome. Thanks again for watching. See you on the next one.